Yo, what's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into this one to check it out. On my last video, I put together Spider-Man villains, but after taking a second look, the battle damaged Spidey needs some help. He ain't gonna be able to handle all that by himself, so in this video, I put together the cavalry to help him out. Let's check it out. First up, front and center, we got Miles Morales Spider-Man from the first mini comic book wave that came out late last year. I thought it would be comical that I put him in the middle, just chilling there reading his very first issue. And going to the right, we got Secret Wars Symbiote Spider-Man, a staple Spider-Man to have in your collection, I would say. And he's the best Symbiote Spider-Man figure in comparison to its previous ones. And then right above him, we've got the most hated Spider-Man figure to release. It's the Maximum Spider-Man, based off of Todd McFarlane's art. I think the hate mainly comes from, its lackluster quality and the price. But, in my opinion, he's the best one out there right now, considering all the accessories that it came with. Then beside him, we got the recent release, White Anti-Venom, in collaboration with Magic the Gathering, just like the Battle Damage Spidey. Yet another solid figure, in my opinion. Although, again, some may disagree and say the previous one looked better, but, nonetheless, we got a new one. And moving on, we got the Spider-Womans. First up, we got Silk. She came with Dr. Octopus 2-pack, and it was actually a pretty good update to her previous figure. Now, a fun fact about her is that the same spider that bit Peter also bit her and gave her powers. Pretty interesting story. I highly suggest checking it out. And then, of course, right beside her, you got the two most popular Spider-Womans, Jessica Drew and Julie Carpenter. But I'd say Jessica Drew is the more popular one, and she played an integral role during Michael Bendis' run of the New Avengers. But Julie Carpenter is the OG Spider-Woman, dating all the way back to the West Coast Avengers team. She later also becomes Madame Web. This is the more obscure alternate versions of Spider-Man. First up, we got Scarlet Spider, who is also Ben Reilly, who is actually also a genetic clone of Spider-Man. And then we got Flash Thompson's Anti-Venom. A little bit of a lackluster, disappointing release, unfortunately, because he didn't come with the tendrils like the White Anti-Venom. But, again, it is what it is, and, we got a new one regardless. And beside him, we got the underrated Spider-Man Noir. Very cool character, in my opinion, and as well in the Spider-Man universe. Now, he does come with Spider-Ham, who I kind of just put him here because I didn't know where to put him. He's more of a statue, really. No articulation, which kind of sucks, but, it is what it is. Then we got the Superior Spider-Man front and center, aka Dr. Octopus. Now, this story is kind of weird and interesting at the same time. Also good to check out. Although this version was quickly overshadowed by the Mess Toys version that came out last year, I believe. And it is the more superior Spider-Man nonetheless. But, happy we got the figure. Happy we still got this figure, and it turned out pretty good. And we actually got all Waldo's compared to the previous versions. Last but not least, we've got my favorite version of Spider-Man. Now, this is just personal preference, by the way. But, growing up, in the 90s, seeing this, I was like, oh man, this is so cool, futuristic looking. And Spider-Man 2099, this released, or supposed to release actually earlier this year, but I got this kind of early, late December, surprisingly. But, really excited that Hasbro re-released this in a beefier body mold compared to the previous one, because, it's kind of like how he looks in comics, right? He's a bigger dude, he's not as skinny as Spidey. But yeah, it would have been cool if they included some red webbing at least, just as an accessory. But just happy nonetheless that we got them. There were a couple of other notable figures that I would have wanted on display. The Cyborg Spider-Man, that would have been cool to have. I always thought that was a nice looking figure, but unfortunately, it is ridiculous in the market. And hopefully, Hasbro will consider reissuing that. And then there's the Armored Spider-Man with the spider suit. I always thought that looked really cool. And the Spider Shot, I think it was called. The one when he has guns and actually kills people. I always thought that that was also a very interesting Spider-Man. But yeah, this pretty much concludes the Spider-Verse display. And hopefully it'll be enough to help out battle damaged Spidey and getting all these guys back into the raft. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and that it inspired you to collect and build your own. Well, that's all I got. Later, y'all.